Hello and welcome to another video. This is going to be another people and places video, part 2. Part 1 is up on the channel, so you're welcome to go and watch that if you've not seen it. First up we have Georgie Woods. Georgie Woods was a good friend of the Twins, and he was a bit of a face before the Twins themselves got known. Georgie was a good robber and done a 10 stretch in Dartmoor once. In this photo is Georgie Woods with Ronnie Kray, with Ronnie with his hand on Woods' shoulder. This was taken in the Double R Club around 1960. Georgie was very well known by this time and the Twins were up and coming. Ron has his hand on Georgie Woods' shoulder, possibly making a statement saying, "I'm with him." The Twins did look up to other villains and they wanted to be seen in the company of them. I would guess that Georgie Woods was older than the Twins and has probably died by now. On the far left in this picture is Tony Cinder holding his poodle. Tony was always pulling a gun and threatening to shoot somebody. Reggie chinned him and knocked the hell out of him once. It has been said that this happened in the Regal Billiard Hall in Eric Street in Mile End, but it was also said that it happened in the Double R Club, so I'm not too sure on that. I'm also not sure what it was over, but I don't think it took much to upset Reggie. This is George Osborne. George accompanied Reggie to Longgrove Hospital in Epsom in Surrey, where Ronnie was held in the late 1950s. George was part of the switch that took place involving Ron and Reg, where on the visit Reg pretended to be Ron so Ron could walk out of the hospital a free man while he was pretending to be Reg. At that point in time, when the Longgrove incident happened, the Twins did look quite alike. As years rolled on though, Ron would look very different to Reg due to his mental illness and heavy medication. This is Longgrove Hospital in Epsom in Surrey, where Ron was in the late 1950s, and this is the site of the hospital today. It is now a housing development, but some of the original buildings are in use here as flats. The hospital closed in 1992. I did feature this in an older video that I have since took down, so I thought I would feature it again here. Ronnie Kray's great grandfather, Crutcher Lee, he was also at Longgrove and he was there until his death. This is 40 Jermyn Street in St James in London. This building, which is now called Tramp and is a private members only nightclub, this building is the site of the Society restaurant that Ronnie Kray and Lord Boothby went to a few times. This would have more than likely been before the Boothby scandal in 1964. There is a famous photograph taken here of Ronnie Kray and Lord Boothby and a young lad sitting in between them. Also in this photo is Boothby's butler sitting on the left of Boothby, and on the far left is cat burglar Charlie Clark, who was a friend of the Twins. On the right hand side of Ronnie Kray is firm member Billy Exley and his wife. It was quite brazen of Boothby to be here with Ron and a known cat burglar. It just shows how arrogant Boothby was. Lord Boothby would later get £40,000 damages from the Sunday Mirror after the Boothby scandal broke out about him and Ronnie Kray in 1964. So this is the old building that housed the Society restaurant. This is Curly King. Curly King was an old friend of the Twins and he was one of the first to call the Twins home at 178 Valence Road, Fort Valence. I think he may have also given the name the Colonel to Ronnie Kray. Curly can be seen in another photo here, far right on the back row. In this photo from back left we have Pat Butler, George Osborne, who we just talked about, the Twins, Terry Dean, who was a pop singer, and then Curly King as mentioned. Front row from left is Ronald Stafford, Mad Teddy Smith with his face a bit obscured by Charlie Kray's arm, who is sitting next to him. Charlie Kray is looking like he is greeting somebody or beckoning somebody over. Then we have Tom Yerdy, who was an actor but then ended up working for Vidal Sassoon, the hairdresser. And last, on the bottom right, is firm member Limehouse Willie, who would later give evidence against the twins and some of the firm in their 1969 trial at the Old Bailey, where the twins ended up getting life. While we're on pictures with people in, here's another picture where I can tell you most of the people in it. Not sure who the first guy on the left is, but we can go along from there. We have Ronnie Kray, actor Victor Spinetti, boxer Terry Spinks, Labour MP Tom Dryburgh, another boxer called Lee Harvey, who is next to Dryburgh. Then we have Dave Forland. He was a friend of Leslie Payne's and ran some long firm frauds for the twins. Then we have Reggie, and then the Clark brothers. They were two tap dancing brothers who had a dance studio in Tottenham Court Road. This is where the twins met them.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Clark brothers.
Reggie did say he had dancing lessons from them, but I'm not sure about that. Freddie Foreman seems to think that Reggie made that one up. Last on the far right is firm member Charlie Nobby Clark, not to be confused with Charlie Clark, the cat burglar, who we have just spoken about. And with his face on the right, mostly out of shot, is Charlie Kray. Not sure who the woman is, or the black guy at the back by Reggie's right shoulder. I don't know where this was taken, but like Lord Boothby, Labour MP Tom Dryburgh didn't mind brazenly mixing it with known villains. I would guess this picture was taken around 1964 or 1965, so it could have been after the Boothby scandal. Tom Dryburgh also attended Reggie Kray's wedding in 1965, and he was known to be having a relationship at the time with Kray firm member Mad Teddy Smith. Good friend of the twins, Johnny Squibb, often seen in some documentaries and talking a lot of sense about things involving the twins. He was mainly Reggie's friend and can be seen in many pictures with them. Here he is in the middle, walking with the twins on their way to their 1965 trial for demanding money with Menesis. Johnny came from a gypsy family and his father was a boxer. Johnny went a long way back with the twins and he was a very loyal friend to them. Pigeons featured heavily in Johnny Squibb's life from an early age, and he had a fascination with them, and his dad kept racing pigeons. Johnny Squibb would get his own pigeons and would often race his against his father's, in which he mostly won. Johnny Squibb was more of a trusted friend of the twins rather than a member of the firm. Along with Laurie O'Leary, Johnny Squibb was their closest friend. It's a shame Johnny Squibb never wrote a book, as he would have known quite a lot of what went on, but maybe that's a testament to his loyalty to the twins. Johnny died in 2004, aged 73, and he had 5 children. Here's an interesting picture. It's of Ronnie Kray in New York in 1968, and it is the only picture I have seen that features Alan Bruce Cooper, who is on the far right with the moustache. Alan Bruce Cooper was an informant that got into the twins' circle in the late 1960s. He was a plant by the American authorities, which also involved Scotland Yard. They wanted to find out about the twins' involvement with the mob in the States in the late 1960s, and the twins were getting quite active with the American mafia at that time, most notably with the selling of stolen bonds. The trip to New York for Ronnie was set up by Alan Bruce Cooper in 1968. Ronnie had previously tried to go to America some years earlier, but he had been refused entry due to his criminal convictions. In 1968 there was no such problems though, and Ronnie Kray and firm member Dickie Morgan went there to see some mafia members. They never really met any high-ranking mafia members, just bit part players. The mob in New York were not stupid, and they knew that Ronnie Kray would be watched very carefully while he was out there, so they all stayed away. In this picture from the left is Dickie Morgan, then there's boxer Willie Pep, he was also involved with the mafia, then we have Ronnie Kray and Alan Bruce Cooper. Alan Bruce Cooper was supposed to have had a stutter that got worse the longer that he was in the Twins company.
That time when Ron went to America, to New York, to meet the mafia, the families, I think he was very much under scrutiny by the police, who had informers that they had slipped into him. People like Alan Cooper and Joe Kaufman, they were just informants, grasses if you like, agents provocateurs. And this Alan Cooper particularly, he was an American, a very short little fellow with a lisp and a stutter, and his stutter became worse the longer he was in the Twins company. It got very pronounced. It took them to meet the mafia. He might have met a couple of street hoods, a couple of, shall we say, crew members, but he never met any mafia as such. All he met were actors, people who looked like Italian waiters, Zapata moustaches, big overcoats. Hiya, baby. How you doing? How you doing, Ron? He came back. He was over the moon. He really thought this is it, the big link up between him and his twin and the mafia. It's ludicrous. Ludicrous.
At the time of Nipper Read investigating the Twins, Nipper Read never knew of Alan Bruce Cooper's involvement with Scotland Yard. Nipper arrested Alan Bruce Cooper in 1968 after a man named Paul Alvey was caught with explosives in Scotland. Alvey was in the process of bringing the explosives back to London for the Twins so they could blow up a man called George Corona who owned a club. When Paul Alvey was arrested, he then told Nipper Read about Alan Bruce Cooper, who was also duly arrested. Cooper was told by the American authorities to try and get the Twins involved in as much as he can. Author John Pearson said about Alan Bruce Cooper in his book The Profession of Violence, Cooper had big ideas that Ronnie needed and seemed as thrilled as Ronnie about them all. They often talked about narcotics, and Cooper had European contracts and clearly knew the market. This was the quickest, safest way for the Twins to become millionaires. As a start, Cooper suggested setting up a flat in Belgravia Square as a clearinghouse for wealthy addicts and their pushers. Cooper got as far as renting the flat when Ronnie suddenly said he wasn't interested. Other rackets they discussed were large-scale gold smuggling, further currency deals, and the taking over of an existing marijuana racket carried on through the diplomatic immunity of some Pakistani diplomats and the traffic of illegal Asian immigrants from Belgium. Each time it was Reggie's caution that stopped Ronnie from becoming involved. Alan Bruce Cooper did appear at Bow Street Magistrates Court in 1968, where the Twins and the firm were there for the committal proceedings before their trial, and he gave evidence for the Crown against the Twins. What I find strange about this though is that I once saw a postcard from Alan Bruce Cooper addressed to one of the Twins in Parkhurst in the 1970s. I can't seem to find a picture of the postcard now, and I'm not really sure if it was genuine. It seems strange that he would give evidence at Bow Street Magistrates and then send a postcard a few years later. I'm not sure if Alan Bruce Cooper was at the Twins trial in 1969. I believe he went back to America though. This could have been forced upon him by the British authorities. So that was a little bit about Alan Bruce Cooper and the only known picture that I've seen of him anyway. So that's about it for this video. It's not a long one, but I hope you have all enjoyed it. I will hopefully find some more things to do, some more parts of these people and places set of videos. I can't guarantee it will be new information to you, but I will try and make them somewhat entertaining. So that's about it. I would like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you again in the next video.